ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, and listen, I'm glad to have you guys here. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2019, and the wheels are coming off of the machine. What I mean by that is worldwide. Well, you know, back when I was a young fella, really young fella, a real tyke, you know, my grandfather and my father were going to take down an old barn. So, it was a rickety old barn. I mean, it was awful looking. The thing looked like it was ready to fall into the ground. The roof tiles were all missing off, you know, the shingles were all missing off. It tin had blown off of one side of the roof, you know, and it was dilapidated, and the boards, half of them weren't nailed, and it just looked like it was ready to fall into the ground, this old barn. So what they did was they went inside with an axe, and they chopped the beams to weaken it. You know, this old barn, it looked like it was going to fall over anyway, all by itself. So they chopped all the beams out, and they got her ready, you know, and then they attached a chain to the main beam of inside the barn, a great big heavy chain, you know, and they had a tractor, and it was a very powerful tractor. They had a really good tractor, farm tractor, me and my father and my grandfather, you know. So they wrapped this giant chain around the main beam of the barn, you know, and they expected the barn to fall all over by itself, so they figured that just a tiny little pull, this thing's going to go down, you know. And so they started pulling with the tractor. And you know what? The wheels started spinning on the tractor, and they kept pulling. My dad was, pull, Tom, pull! You know, and he had the tractor, and the wheels were spinning on the tractor, and you know what? They straightened the chain. The tractor's so strong, it actually straightened out a link in the chain. And that barn didn't budge. That's the way with this system. We looked at this system 10 years ago, and we thought, hey, you know what? It's going to collapse and everything. That's a reasonable expectation, looking at the way the system's put together. But it's proved to be more tenacious and stronger than it was apparent, you know. And what's happened is years have went by, but it's finally starting to come unglued now at this point. And it's taken a lot to bring it down. But these trade wars going on, also difficulties within the very fabric of the European Union itself. Anyway, listen, I'm rambling on a little bit, but let's get started. Let's open up the charts right here, and let's take a look at what's going on. First, with silver. You know, silver's starting to climb today. Silver's been climbing up, and so's gold, have been climbing up, and then they get knocked back down again. And they climb back up, and then they get knocked back down. Every time they start climbing back up, we all out here get hopeful, very hopeful. And then they get knocked back down. But they've been not knocked down to the extent that they were before. Let's take a look at gold today. 1342, you know, and she's bouncing back right now. She's up $1 on the day so far. And silver's looking at 1487 for bid and 1497 for ask. So gold and silver are they've been smacked down, but they're bouncing back, you know, and they're going to take off pretty soon. But we have to wait until this crisis gets more further advanced. Let's take a look now at Bitcoin. Bitcoin is 92.16. She's holding strong after a rise in price. Like yesterday or the day before, it was like 82. Now it's 92. It's up 2% on the day. Seems like every time I talk about Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, they're always up. And they're the only thing within the financial system that's moving up and moving up this rapidly, you know, in price. Let's take a look at cryptocurrency market capitalizations. 285.3 billion. This moves so quick I have to refresh the page. 285.3. Let me refresh the page. 288.5. So it's moved up like $3 billion just since I opened this page a few minutes ago. 57.2% Bitcoin dominance. All the coins are taking off this morning. We're looking at a price of 92, 93 on Bitcoin. Ethereum's 273. XRP is 43.2 cents. Litecoin is $136.27. Bitcoin Cash is $434.82. EOS is $7.17. Binance Coin is $33. Bitcoin SV is $226. Stellar is 12.9 cents. Cardano is 9.3 cents. Tron is 3.3 cents. And Monero is $98. And Dash is $159.85. Cosmos and IOTA are in a battle for the 15th and 16th position. Cosmos is at $6.80, and IOTA is at 44 cents. So those are your top coins for today. Now let's take a look at the Dow Jones. Let me refresh the page here. And we're down 35 points on the day. I would not be a bit surprised, if we end down 200 or end down 100 points before the end of the day is concerned, today. And the realization of an awful lot of things are starting to come into play now on that's going to affect the Dow. One is the fact that we're not getting out of this trade war anytime soon. And trade wars lead to hot wars. And also the fact that the whole world's general economy is in a slowdown, and the only thing that's been propping this market up is hopes that the Federal Reserve is going to cut interest rates. But they've been buying the rumor, and this is the thing. And the whole thing is, I don't think the Federal Reserve is going to cut just yet. The Dow is still buoyed too good, But Dow, if they don't cut, the Dow is going to fall down. And then when it falls down, then they'll cut. So that's what we're facing right now. Let's take a look now at crude oil. Crude oil prices have dropped. Can you believe, with the trouble that there is in the Persian Gulf region, that crude oil prices are dropping? Whew, somebody's going to make a lot of money. Somebody's going to make a lot of money. Because I think crude oil prices 6 months from now are going to be at least double. That's what I think's coming. To be honest, that's what I think's coming. Let's take a look now at U.S. treasuries. When we see the middle of the yield curve and the short end of the yield curve rising like we do today, and we see the long end of the yield curve falling like we do today, this is much quickening the yield curve inversion. Even the 30 years starting to succumb now. It's down to 2.58, and that 30 years been the only holdout, on the yield curve inversion. But it's falling today, and we got the whole short end of the yield curve rising. So the yield curve inversion is intensifying today, intensifying. Let's take a look now at the U.S. dollar index. 97.39. Now you notice when the U.S. dollar drops, you notice how gold tends to go up. Gold and the U.S. dollar are like, they're opposites of each other. The biggest enemy of the United States dollar is gold. But a new enemy has emerged. It's Bitcoin. But the biggest enemy of the United States dollar is gold. With about an $8 billion market. an $8 trillion market, Now, cryptocurrencies, not even $1 trillion. Right now, they're only about a third of one. They're very small market. They did make it up to 750 billion a while back, but it's working its way back slowly, But it's not near as big a market as the gold market. And the gold market has an effect on the dollar, an actual effect on the dollar, and that's just why they have to keep gold suppressed. If they keep gold suppressed, they have to keep silver suppressed. Because have you ever heard, all the way through history, silver and gold, gold and silver and gold, gold and silver. They're like twins, and they travel together. Believe me, if the gold price shoots up, silver will follow it up. And if the silver price shoots up, gold will follow it up. So if silver goes up, they lose control over gold. It's as simple as that. And so the silver market is much more critical than the gold market. And the reason why is because industry sucks up most of the mining supply every year. And they have to have it for industry. They have to allocate that for industry. And then what's left over is used for bar and coin demand. Well, as long as bar and coin demand is low, they can keep up with enough mining supply to supply bar and coin demand and industry. But if bar and coin demand were to increase exponentially, they wouldn't have enough silver. And now, people would argue with that. An awful lot of people out there are silver bugs and stuff. An awful lot of people out there that argue and say, oh, there's all kinds of silver. There's so many American Eagles and so many bar and coin demand that's been sold over the years, and people have all kinds of silver stored. Yeah, that's true. But an awful lot of that silver, they bought it when the price was a bit higher. And an awful lot of that silver that's sitting on the sidelines, it's not for sale at these prices. It's as simple as that. It's not silver that's for sale. Silver that's readily available for sale mostly comes from mining supply every year. The miners supply the silver. When you go in, you buy an American Eagle, that silver, 6 months earlier, it was in the ground. They dug it out of the ground, they processed it, and made it into your Eagle. You know? And that's where your Eagle comes from. Your American Eagle silver coin comes from. It comes from the ground. It doesn't come from now, there used to be more of this 925 silver that would come into the marketplace as junk silver and be smelted down into bars. But that doesn't happen so much anymore. Most of the silver that's out there right now comes from mining supply, and the miners have learned how to be very efficient. And this efficiency, the mining efficiency in silver, is the reason why they're going to run out even more. Because they've dug out all of the good stuff in these lean years when silver's been cheap. The miners, in order to support their mine, they've been in there digging out the good stuff. You know, and really fast. And they're getting down to the point where ore grades are starting to fall off. What that means is when they dig out a ton of ore, that's how it comes out of the ground, as rocks and stuff, they're getting less ounces per ton of ore because ore grades are falling off. This means they have to expend more energy. This means that the cost goes up, but the cost hasn't went up. They've been keeping the cost manipulated down artificially using paper short contracts on the COMEX. They've been keeping the price artificially down low. While the price of everything else you buy has been rising, the price of silver is staying low. Staying low, staying low. And gold too, you know. And so this is the whole game they've been playing. But as prices rise exponentially higher, the silver and gold price is going to start to move up with the cost of mining. It's as simple as that. And when it does, then enthusiasm is going to start to come back into the marketplace. And people are going to start to basically, bar and coin demand will start to increase as the price heats up. People are going to want it more. And as people want it more, then they're not going to be able to keep up with bar and coin demand when bar and coin demand explodes. And so what we're going to be looking at is very possibly a shortage in the 1,000-ounce bars that they use to supply industry. And when that shortage occurs, it'll be a short-lived event. It'll be an event, it'll be a shortage that won't last very long. Because what'll happen is the price will shoot up so fast, and they know this is coming. This is why they've put stops in the market, on the silver and gold markets. They've put checks in. So I think the check is at $3 on silver. So if silver rises $3 in a particular day, they shut the market down with these checks and stops. That way they can call all their buddies and get them in to buy and allocate all of the physical silver that's left. They're a bunch of crooks, you know. Anyway, listen. Let's move on. Let's talk about China here. Wilbur Ross says, he warns, don't expect a China deal at the G20 meeting. And you know what? I don't expect a China deal anytime soon. Chinese have dug in. The Americans dug into their position. Eventually, they're going to come to the table. Eventually. But it's only after this crisis is really, really bad and their economies are getting wrecked on both sides. Then they'll come to the table. Trade wars come to an end in the end anyway. Anyway, this is what happens. So listen, thank you guys for listening to the show. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And listen, we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.